Undisputed, niggas roll up in the heated block. Get out the whip with his face in a knot. Yes, I know it's your hood, but we taking the spot. We the Hebrews and we got it on undisputed. Niggas roll up in the heated block. Get out the whip with his face in a knot. Yes, I know it's your hood, but we taking the spot. We the Hebrews and we got it on undisputed. On the front line and it's game time. The one who understands has a strong mind. And I don't mind embarrassing you online. They call Jesus, in fact, he's on the main line. Hebrews in the streets and they making noise. Know we standing strong like a convoy, flexing our spiritual muscle that's on steroids. Why these other groups afraid of work like they unemployed? Here to put flesh on your damn bones. Hit in every corner, take your whole zone. No more selling drugs, no more prostitution. We take the money back, call it restitution. We gonna use the Torah as our constitution. Use a Mashiach as a resolution. What you think we soft? We ain't no lightweight. Take the air out of your ball, call it deflate tape. So either join the movement or just vacate. Never gonna compromise on things we don't tolerate. Find out if the Hebrew's really real, so investigate. Really got a love for our people. Let me demonstrate. Undisputed. Niggas roll up in the heated block. Get out the whip with his face in a knot. Yes, I know it's your hood, but we taking the spot. We the Hebrews and we got it on undisputed. Niggas roll up in the heated block. Get out the whip with his face in a knot. Yes, I know it's your hood, but we taking the spot. We the Hebrews and we got it on undisputed.
All right. Welcome to the Lions Den Source G Conscious TV collaboration. What we have here, brothers and sisters, is a failure to communicate. These two brothers gonna try to have to figure it out. You see what I'm saying? We got YirmeYah, the Source Debate League champion, going against G Consciousness, otherwise known as LaRon Campbell. LaRon Campbell TV. I think he's a Christian apologist. He's been around the conscious community for a long time. But the topic of the day is, are the Khazars and Ashkenazis Israelites? That's what we're going to find out today with the Lions Den Source G Consciousness TV collaboration show. With that being said, I'm going to let each contestant go ahead and introduce themselves, starting with G Con. Go ahead, Doc.
What's going on? Grace and peace to the family out there. Once again, it's your boy G Consciousness, also known as, well, LaRon Campbell. But, you can check my YouTube page out, G Consciousness. G is spelled with K. It's spelled G and then K-O-N. And this basic consciousness with a K instead of a C. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to the people that's listening in. Hopefully it'll be a good debate and so people get some understanding. And,
All right. And next, but last but not least, we got my YirmeYah. Please say the Yah. He got his coronavirus mask on. He playing it safe. He don't want none of them germs coming through the goddamn phone and computer. So go ahead. I'll tell everybody what you're all about.
Let me speak to the family, man. Right? Let me speak to the family on the seriousness of this conversation, right? What G-Con is asserting here is that the millions upon millions of Israelites that find themselves in captivity in America and scattered to the four corners of the earth are deceived. This man is making a claim that it doesn't matter what your race is. Any race can be an Israelite. Any race. That's ridiculous and confusion. For those that don't know, my name is YirmeYah. Please say to Yah, Mr. Handing out L's. This is what I do, man. Right? In the defense of the gospel. Right? So we're going to be looking at this information, man. For those that don't know, man, you are at the source. Right? Shout out to the Lions Den. Shout out to G Consciousness. right? And all the affiliates, man. Right? This is what we do, man. We bringing forth this information. Now, this man woke up this morning on the wrong side of the bed or something because he didn't roll a check that his ass can't cash. Now we're gonna go into this information. I yield the floor.
All right. Our timekeeper for today is Yashar the General. We also got on deck Yashar the Lion, aka Daquan. Some of the other brothers is part of the Lions Den, the source. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's going to be a very good topic. And everybody get their pencils and their notepad out and take notes. We're going to have YirmeYah go first. As soon as the timekeeper say he can go.
All right. When we get to 60 seconds, when we get to the last minute, I'm gonna let y'all know y'all got a minute. Then when the time is up, I'm gonna let y'all know time is up. And I appreciate it if you guys stop what you're saying, stop what you're doing, so we can keep the order. $10 minutes, right?
Yeah.
All right. Let's go.
All right, man. So it's very important that we understand we take in consideration a certain level of science and a certain level of genetics, right? Genetics is not something that just flows from anybody, right? So it's important that I substantiate within this first round what are the so-called genetics or characteristics of the appearance of the children of Israel, right? First and foremost, man, it's been a mission of these converts to take the identity of the children of Israel and place it on themselves. We can see this in scripture. This is First Maccabees chapter 3, verse 48. It says, and they laid open the book of the law, wherein the heathen, right? The heathen sought to paint the images, or the heathen sought to paint the likeness of their images. This is what's been their game plan, their MO from the beginning, right? So as we go into some historical books that we're going to line up with scripture, we're going to go into the Babylon of Timbuktu, brothers and sisters. Now, I don't have a PowerPoint together, and the reason being, this brother act like I couldn't be on the spot with the information. He want to go right now, so let's go. I had the information, though, all right, which you cannot run from. So in the Babylon of Timbuktu, page 33, it says what? It says the origins of the black Jews. It said originally, all Hamites and Shemites were black. It's very important that you understand this because it's going to come up again later in my rounds. Originally, all Hamites and Shemites were black. Abraham was a black Shemite and a descendant of Shem. The name of Abraham was Abram before it was changed to Abraham. Before it was changed, before he was referred to as Abraham. The three Hebrew patriarchs was Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. This Jacob begot 12 sons, who later fathered the 12 tribes of Israel. Abraham was the father not only of the Hebrew Israelite nation, but also of the Arab nation. Very important that you understand that, right? So we get the history of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob being black, being a people of color, being melanated, right? So it's very important that you understand that. What biblical examples can we see of melanation or people of color? We go into Lamentations 5 and 10. What color was the Jews after the destruction of Jerusalem by the Babylonians? Let's look here, right? Lamentations 5 and 10, family. Lamentations 5 and 10, right? It says what? Lamentations 5 and 10 says what? Our skin was black like an oven because of the terrible famine. Our skin was black like an oven because of the terrible famine. If you follow me, family, I'm going to go into the Tanakh, I'm going to go into the Torah, and I'm going to go into the Gospels to substantiate these people were a people of color. Follow me. Lamentations 4 and 8. Their visage, look this word visage up, right? Their visage simply means their appearance is blacker than a coal. You know what coal is, family? Same thing you put in the grill when you're barbecuing. Blacker than that. Their visage was blacker than the coal. They are not known in the streets. Their skin cleave unto their bones. It is whether it is become like sticks. So we see blacker than a coal. We see their skin was black upon them. Let's go into the New Testament and see if we get any other examples of a comparison of the children of Israel. This is Acts chapter 21, verse 38, and it reads, Acts chapter 21, verse 38. Who was Paul compared to? Let's see. Acts 21, verse 38, and it reads, art not thou that Ethiopian, which before these days madest upon an uproar and leadest out into the wilderness 4,000 men that were murderers? Who was he speaking to? It says, verse 39, but Paul said, I am a man which am a Jew. So Paul, being a Jew, an Israelite, being compared to what? An Egyptian. Being compared to an Egyptian. Verse 38, art thou that Egyptian? Pay very close attention to that, family. Right? Any more examples? Let's go to Exodus. Let's go into the Torah now. See if anything changed. Exodus chapter 2, verse 15. Exodus chapter 2, verse 15. Follow me because I'm building. As we get to the second and third round, we're going to get into the Khazars. But it's imperative that you understand the history of the biblical and historical narrative that these people are a people of color, man. All right? So it says what? Verse 2. Exodus 2 and 15, and it reads, now when Pharaoh heard this thing, he sought to slay Moses. Who? Moses. He sought to slay Moses, but Moses fled from the face of Pharaoh and dwelt in the land of Midian, and he sat down by a well. Verse 16. Now the priests of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came and drawed water and filled through the water of their father's flock. Verse 17. And the shepherds came and drove them away. But Moses stood up and helped them and watered their flocks. Verse 18. And when they had came to Raul, their father, he said, how is it that thou hast come so soon today? Verse 19. And they said, what? An Egyptian delivered us out of the hands of the shepherds and also drawed water enough for us and watered the flocks. So Moses being compared to who? An Egyptian, right? Let's get further proof. Genesis chapter 42, verse 6. Genesis 42 and 6. What do it say, family? Let's deal with Joseph. Let's go before Moses and let's deal with Joseph, right? It says what? Genesis chapter 42 says what? 42 and 6, it says, and Joseph was the governor over the land, and he it was that sold to all the people of the land, and Joseph's brothers came and bowed down themselves before him with their faces to the earth. Verse 7, and Joseph saw his brothers, and he knew them, but made himself strange unto them, and spake roughly unto them, and he said unto them, whence come ye? And they said, from the land of Canaan, to buy food. Verse 8, and Joseph knew his brothers, but they knew him not. Why didn't they know their own brother if he's a white man? It should have been very easy for them to identify their brother. But let's see if the children of Israel are white. Let's go to Moses' sister Miriam. This is Numbers chapter 12, verse 9. Numbers chapter 12. It says what? And Miriam, let me start the first verse. And Miriam and Aaron spake against Moses because the Ethiopian woman he had married, for he had married an Ethiopian woman. Let's drop down to the 9th verse. And the anger of the Lord was kindled against them, and he departed. And the cloud departed from off the tabernacle. And behold, Miriam became lepers, white as snow. And Aaron looked upon Miriam, and behold, she was leprous. So we can go on to when Moses stuck his hand in his bosom, and it became as his other flesh. So as we can see, a continuous theme here, that the children of Israel are being compared to the families that are known as the people of color, the descendants of Ham. There's a comparison there.
60 seconds.
So as we look in the Zondervan Dictionary Bible, it says Ham, the youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood. He became the progenitor of the dark races, right? But not the Negroes, right? He is the progenitor of the Ethiopians, the Egyptians, the Libyans, and the Canaanites. This is the Zondervan Dictionary Bible description of Ham, these people being a people of color, which the children of Israel are constantly being referred to. I yield.
Time. Got 13 seconds. You want them 13 seconds, G-Con?
Yeah, I'll take it, All right, cool.
All right. The brother came out smoking hot, everybody. Hey, what I like about it, the brother went into the scriptures, and he went to Babylon and Timbuktu. He went to Lamentations 5 and 10 and said, our skin was black like another. Then he went to Lamentations 4 and 8 and said, our skin is also blacker than coal. He went to Acts 21, verse 38, 39. Who was Paul compared to? And he proved that they was compared to the Egyptians. And then Paul also stated that he was a Jew. So he letting you know that the Egyptians and the Jews look just alike because they was black. Then he went and he said, Genesis 42 and 6, and went to Joseph. And Joseph was also mistaken for Egyptians. And then he finally went to somewhere in Numbers, and Miriam became white as snow. So if she was already white, how did she become white as snow? That's some of the things this brother point out. I'm gonna let LeRon G. Conscience come on onto the scene. I'm gonna take notes and pay attention, because he's saying that the Khazars are the children of Israel. That being said, as soon as the timekeeper say you can go, you can get it in, Ron G. Go ahead, Doc.
All right, I'm ready. Y'all ready?
Let's get it in, G-Con.
All right, cool. Somebody got to mute their mic. So as y'all can see, this brother has already misunderstood my position. When you look at the Khazars, right, it's not that it's a black or white thing. That's the first off, because we know that there are many. Israel have been to 3 continents. They've been in Asia, Europe, and also in Africa. And so to sit up here and say, YirmeYah, you got to mute your mic, brother. To sit up here and say, there's a feedback. To sit up here and say that there is a to say that color is the issue here, we can look at Khazar, which is with one West, and his father is black. So so what happens is, let me give you a scenario. So you got Israelites that are on 3 continents, plus also Asia, Europe, and Africa, really dispersed all over the world. different empires from the Egyptian all the way till you get to the Roman Empire. They've been dispersed into different provinces all throughout the earth. Now, we see that if you say the black Israelites that we see today, right? These Israelites that we see today that are in America, right? They claim, I'm sorry. Hey, brother, can you mute your mic, brother?
Bro, if I mute my mic, they're not going to be able to hear in the audience. What is it that you're hearing?
Oh, are you flipping pages or something? All right, cool. So what I'm saying is this: is if there's this descent, right, and we see that they say they descend from Israel, the question is not that if these people are black and white. The debate is not if these people are black and white, because we see how a black person can have sex with a white person and that child come forth in that descent. We see how a black person can have sex with a person that is of Africa, that is an African, that or whatever the case may be, or well, I'm gonna say Israelite. An Israelite can have sex with a person that is a Israelite. I mean, an Israelite can have sex with a person that is an African and bring forth African descent. And so when you look at Israelite can have sex with an Asiatic and bring forth an Asian descent or a European descent. So the question is not that is they black and white. This debate is basically about are the Khazars Jews? Now, if he's questioning the Khazars being Jews because they are white or they look European, then he needs to question every one West camp out here, because in their camps that we see, they have people that have black fathers, but are but white in color. So that shouldn't, and even in, if you're not an Israelite, we see the admixture of these different groups of people that create these different colors. So it shouldn't be questioning, or you shouldn't be talking saying, well, is these people white or black, or if they melanated. First of all, everybody is melanated. White people just have a lesser hue of melanin. Everybody is melanated. And second, just because a person is of a darker hue does not mean that they are what we see black people like us. The Dravidians are dark people, but they are not black people. So don't let this brother fool you into thinking just because that is the case of color, or somebody is a dark or whatever, or this person may be white, that they don't have Israelite descent. That don't make any sense. We see they've been on all these different continents. Clearly, we see that people who they say that are Israelites today, they are taking white women and having children that look like white people. Khazar look just like a Ashkenazi Jew. So getting that out the way, I would like these certain things to be answered when we begin to go to the questioning of who is these people that are in the land that we see in Zechariah 14 before Christ come back, the Moshiach come back. This is Zechariah 14. It says, behold, the day of the Lord cometh, and thy spoil shall be divided in the midst of thee, for I will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle. And the city shall be taken, and the houses rifled, and the women ravished, and half of the city shall go forth into captivity. Now, Jerusalem is going to go forth into captivity, half of the city, right? But it says that he will divide the spoil of Israel in the midst of them. He says, for he will gather all nations against them and divide that spoil in the midst of them. So my question to this brother is that how is there's not Israelites in the land in Jerusalem before I mean, how can there not be Israelites in the land before, I mean, well, I'm sorry, we see Israelites in the land before Christ come back. And if these Ashkenazis are not the Israelites, then how are they in the land now that we see, and who is the people that we see in this text right here before Christ come back? So those are things I'm looking at. It says, then should the Lord go forth to fight against those nations, right? So the nations are surrounding Israel. And if they are surrounding Israel, and then we see a group of people that is in this land, who are these people that are in this land before Christ come back? Because we see Christ ain't stepped foot down yet, but he steps foot down when it says verse 4, Zechariah 14 and 4, and his feet shall stand in the day upon the Mount of Olives, which is before Jerusalem on the east, and the Mount of Olives shall cleave in the midst thereof toward the east and toward the west, and there shall be a very great valley. So if we see that Christ is coming to touch down, who are these people? Now you're going to hear arguments to say, oh, these people are wicked, and they is wicked. You're going to hear arguments to say, oh, they're homosexuals, and there is homosexuality within the land of Jerusalem, but that's prophesied within Revelation chapter 11, when it says it's going to be spiritually Egypt and also Sodom and Gomorrah, where our Lord was crucified at in Revelation chapter 11. So we see that these arguments that he's going to throw is shallow arguments, because we know already that it says blindness in part has happened to Israel until the fullness of the Gentiles come in, or the Gentile reign. So when we look at it, when we look at these very Jews that we see, they are going to be doing wicked things. Why? Because we see that they're doing more wickedness than the nations. Now, I'm not saying that there are not black Jews, there are not African Jews, there are not European Jews, because there are some of the African Americans that we see today that we call African Americans. Some of them are Israelites. Now, what I do tell them to do is, this brother said that Ishmael, or whatever the case is, the Arabs, right? Or these he says, I heard him speak on the Arabs. If you feel that you are related to the Arabs, because you are, if you say that you're an Israelite, then you should be genetically close with them. And if you are genetic, so if that is the case, you need to get a test done and test their genetic to see, do you share similarities with them genetically? You should have some traces of that on your genomes. So that's one thing. One of the things we question. Then we talk about Babylon from Timbuktu. When you're dealing with Babylon from Timbuktu, then you got to look in that text and you got to say, well, okay, we do see that there are certain traditions that are there, right? So if there are certain traditions that are there, then all you got to do, brother, is get the test done, bro. You should genetically, you can find out quickly if on Maury, if Abraham is the father. You know what I'm saying? You can find out that quick, bro. So if you feel this is your people's, see if you share genetic information. You should be closely related to them. So if we see that there is some things that is in Timbuktu that points to black Jews, I have no issue with that. My issue is this brother is trying to say that being an Israelite is just a black thing, knowing that they have been in different continents. Now, you may say, or we may say, well, they started off in color. That's fine. This brother used the argument of Egyptian. Art thou the Egyptian whom thou saw, who led us the people out? He used what was that, Paul? So when he used the Paul argument, we got to understand that in Paul's day, the Egyptians was not the color of the Ethiopians that would have been to the south. They was not that color. The Egyptians that was there of that day had been overran by Medes and Persians and Grecians prior to, and Babylonians prior to. So you can't say that these people that was in that land today, that at that time of Paul, was actually the Egyptians that you would have seen in the past. And even with that, the Egyptians was an admixture of those people that was in the Levant area, as well as those people that was in the south, that was in Nubia. They was sandwiched in those areas. So there was a mixture of those two people, and that's why they painted themselves as a ruddy type of brick color. So all of these arguments that this brother is bringing, you know what I'm saying, is not a color issue. The argument today, are these Khazarian people Jews? And if you're going to argue on the basis of a color, you're totally off, bro. You're totally off, because there's many of Israelites.
60 seconds.
There's many of Israelites that we see today that are different colors. Even in America, of those who don't subscribe to that ideology, we see that they bring forth many of children that are different colors. So to sit up there and say that that's not the case, but then look at Khazar and say that he is an Israelite and he looked like Harry Rosenberg or whatever the brother name is, it's fallacious. It don't make any sense. It's not even logical. You know what I'm saying? So if you're arguing on the color thing, then you're off, brother, and I yield my time.
All right, you got 26 seconds left. If you want to do something with that, you can do something. If not, we can just keep it moving.
Okay, so 26 seconds left. So what I'm saying is this is, once again, the argument here is the Khazars or Ashkenazis, are they Jews? And from the scriptures that I just read, Zechariah 14, somebody is in that land. And somebody's going to be in that land before Christ come back. And the people we see that's in that land today is the Ashkenazi, Sephardics, and other Jews.
All right, time. Woo!
All right. I'm back, y'all.
Round right there.
I was out sharing the video. I'm hoping I make it back in time. I'm trying to share the video and do notes at the same time. So if any of you other brothers on the panel, do me a favor, go out and share the video, man. Do some watch parties. But what I did get from there, the brother came out, G. Ron Constant, he said that the Israelites, they've been in 3 continents, Asia, Europe, and Africa. So they had been mixing with these other people of these continents, so maybe the color has changed. You see what I'm saying? And he said, this is not about a black and white thing of being an Israelite. He said that the Dravidians are black, but they're not Israelites. So everyone is black is not Israelites, but basically what the brother is saying. He said, he gave an example of Khazar from ISUPK. He said, look at him. He looked like Harry Rosenberg. You see what I'm saying? Then he went to Zechariah 14 and said, the Most High will gather all the nations. That's the most important thing when it comes down to it. And one more time, what else I gathered? I was trying to share the video. He said that this is not about a black thing. And with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead. We're gonna go ahead and get the second round started. But before we do, I want to give a shout out to Pascal Tassels. The sister, she makes tassels. She's in the back chat with us. Also, Brew News, the Light magazine. They came out with the 5th edition. Shout out to Lions Den Debate League. Shout out to Black Jesus Radio. Shout out to Sarnetta TV, Y'all World 777, and all the affiliates of the Lions Den Source and G Consciousness TV collaborations. With that being said, I'm gonna turn it over to the timekeeper, and we finna go to the top of the second inning. Go ahead, timekeeper. Let them know when they can go.
10 minutes on the clock. Let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready, Hot.
Let's go.
All right, man. So let me make this clear. That was a total waste of air. That brother just sit there and ran his mouth. I want everybody to pay very close attention to something. He said something about the time frame of Paul and the Egyptians and the admixture, what was going on during the time of Paul. Notice, he never said nothing about Moses. He never said nothing about Joseph. He never said nothing about Miriam. It's very important that you understand the phenotype of the children of Israel, because there are people that are claiming to be Jews who have an entirely different phenotype. All right? Shout out to ISUPK and the brother Khazar. I don't know what that brother's family lineage is. I haven't had an opportunity to talk to him or to examine his family lineage. So that ain't got nothing. I don't know nothing about that. All right? So what I'm explaining to you is the origins of these people, right? The origins of the children of Israel and their original appearance during the biblical times, right? So as we're looking at this information and we're going into the Khazarians, right? Who he's calling Khazars, it's very important that you understand something, okay? What you need to understand is, here's a book called Arthur Koestler, the 13th Tribe, right? On the back of this book, it says, this book traces the history of the ancient Khazarians, of the ancient Khazarian Empire, a major but almost forgotten power in the East, in Eastern Europe. which in the Dark Ages became converted. Converted. You cannot convert into another person's nationality. You cannot convert into a man's racial ethnicity. You cannot convert into a man's family lineage. These people are converts. It says what? The European, which in the Dark Ages became converted to Judaism. Khazarians was finally wiped out by the forces of Genghis Khan by the incidents, and the Khazarian Empire spread and migrated to Poland from Western Jewry, right? And formed Western Jewry. So it's very important. So now we have a migration pattern from the ancient land of Khazaria into Western Europe, right? Into Western Europe, which they became known as the Khazarian, or they became known as the Ashkenazi Jews, right? So it's very important that you understand that they cannot be of the actual lineage, because Ashkenazi brothers and sisters, right, is in the lineage of Japheth. It's in the lineage of Japheth. You can find that in Genesis chapter 10, right? You can find that in Genesis chapter 10. Now, the man asked a question, right? He asked a question about who is these people that's in the land? If they're not Israelites, then who are these people? Let's see what the Bible has to say about that. Can the Bible answer that? In Genesis chapter, in Luke chapter 21, verse 24, what does the Bible says? Luke chapter 21, right? Luke 21 and 24. Luke 21 and 24. It says what? And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles, unto the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. So who's in the land? Gentiles are in the land. Converts are in the land. What do it say? He mentioned Zechariah chapter 14, but what does it say in Zechariah chapter 9? What does it say here? Zechariah chapter 9. What does it say here? Right? Zechariah chapter 9, and it reads. Zechariah chapter 9, and it reads, starting at the 6th verse, Zechariah 9 and 6, it says, and a bastard shall dwell in Ashdod. Ashdod is in the Levant. Look it up. And I will cut off the pride of the Philistine. So bastards shall dwell in Ashdod. I'm going to bring this scripture up in my third round to totally sink and kill all of this confusion that this brother's bringing to the table, because he's here to ask questions. We here to provide answers. That's the difference between me and him. I ain't asking him a damn thing, because we have the information and we've done the research. All right? Understand that. So now it says what? Let's go into the 13th tribe. What's going on here? What's going on here? First of all, there's a confusion. People say that the white man is Japhet, but yet the original Khazarians were Japhet. But there was a subclass that moved in, a white subclass that moved in. It overtook the original Khazarians. If these people are the end result of Khazaria, that means that the original people were not like this. All right, this is the end result. Now let's see here, right? It says what? This is Arthur Kosa, the 13th tribe, page 22. It says, Arab historian traces the origins of the Khazarians back to who? Japheth, the third son of Noah. The Japheth movement rescued, or so like you're researching frequently in the literature, while legends connect them with Abraham and Alexander the Great, which is a white man. Understand this. Watch this. One of the earliest functions refers to the Khazarian, occurs in a Syrian Chronicles by Zechariah History, dating from the middle of the 6th century. The mentioning the Khazarians in a list of people who inhabited the region of the Khazarians, or Salakia, of the Caucasus. Why do white people call themselves Caucasian? Oh, because their origins is from the Caucasus Mountains. Other sources indicate that they were already much evident a country earlier and intimately connected with the Huns. In AD 448, the Byzantine Emperor Thaddeus II sent ambassadors to Attila, which included which commuted familiar people by the name of Prisca. Right? He kept mute accounts not only of the diplomacy and negotiations, but also of the country's negotiations and going on in Attila. It says what? In the hall, he was in fact the professor gossip column of his day, and it still one of the main sources of information about the Huns' customs and habits. But Prisca
60 seconds,
right? Prisca also wrote to all about a people subject to the Huns who called themselves Akats or Akarians. That is very likely the Khazarians are white Khazarians and distinct from the black Khazarians, right? So it says what? This warrior race over his side, won this warrior race over to his side, and the greedy Khan's chieftains named Kadasa considered the bribe offensive to inquire and sided with the Huns. Attila defeated the Khazarians through the help of the white Khazarians, thus these being the later end of results of the Khazarians. The original Khazarians were black.
All right, powerful second round, YirmeYah. Like I said, I've been out sharing the video, so I did get to catch a few things. The brother broke out a book called The 13th Tribe, and in that book, it tells that these Ashkenazis are converts. They're not really the originals, as far as what I'm gathering from it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Then the brother went into Genesis 10 and said that that the Ashkenazis come from the Isles of the Gentiles, which is from Japheth. Then he went into Luke 21, verse 24, and said that they shall fall by the sword, captive of all nations and Gentiles. And then he went to Zechariah chapter 9, verse 6. A bastard should dwell in the land of the Levant. You see what I'm saying? And then he also went into details about how these Ashkenazis are basically, they come from the Caucasus Mountains, and they're some kind of related to the Huns. So he brought out some pretty good information. Now we're going to get ready to see what G Consciousness is going to bring to the table in his second round. And the third round of commentary, I'm gonna turn it over to Daquan, because I want to be out sharing this video. But I'm gonna pop back in. But I want Daquan to finish out the third round with the commentary, and then I'll be back for question and answer. With that being said, I'm gonna turn it over to the timekeeper and G-Con. You can go ahead and do your thing. Shalom.
Right,
let me know when you're ready, G-Con.
All right, can you guys see my screen before I go?
No, not yet.
I'm screen sharing. You guys can't see it.
Yeah.
Now we can.
All right, cool. So I'm ready.
All right, go ahead.
Um, the brother did exactly what I thought he was gonna do. He slipped up and he went to Arthur Kessler's 13 Tribe book. I want to read something that he quoted himself. This is the Kessler's official biography written by Michael Scamell. Specifically quotes him on why he wrote the 13 Tribe. So this is his biography. It says his argument was that if he could persuade people that a non-Jewish Khazar heritage formed the basis of modern Jews, then this would be a weapon against European racially based anti-Semitism. Should this theory be confirmed, the term anti-Semitism would become void of meaning, he said. According to Scamell, Kastler told French biologist Pierre Debray-Rizin he was convinced, quote, he was convinced that if he could prove that the bulk of Eastern Europe Jews were descended from the Khazars, the racial bias for anti-Semitism would be removed and anti-Semitism itself could disappear. Source: Scamell Michael, Kastler, The Literary and Political Odyssey of the 20th Century, Skeptic, Random House. And so just bringing that out on Kessler's book on why he even came out with the theory in the first place. Also, not to mention that when they begin to look at the Khazars, what I want to show you is is the Caucasus Mountains that he spoke on, right? If you look at my screen, the Caucasus Mountains is within this region right here. I want to say, the Caucasus Mountains is within this region that you see. Now, if you look, what's to the south of it is Turkey. But what he didn't tell you is before the Khazarian theory even took, the Khazarian theory even came, or even the kingdom of Khazar came, what he didn't tell you is that Israel was already in those places prior to. Because remember, they was dealing with the Babylonians, and then they dealt also with the Assyrian Empire. Now, what I want to show you here is when you look at this text, it says, I want to jump down to, I want to say right in the end, right? It says, at the same time, during the 13th to 9th century BC, and I'm pointing out at the top, if you look, I'm pointing out basically the history of the Caucasus. Because what I want to show you is the region of the Caucasus is where we see the Assyrian Empire distressed in those areas, as well as the Medes and Persians Empire just as well, and other empires distressed in those areas. And we know that Israel was taken up to the provinces of those areas. So prior to, before you even come down to a Khazarian empire, which is around 800 AD, I want to say 700 AD, Israelites that were scattered and dispersed had already been dispersed out through those areas already. So I don't even know why he brought that out. So if there is a Khazarian conversion, of which Jews did say that they converted those that was of Khazari according to their history, right? And if there is a conversion, that still doesn't prove anything to prove that these Khazarians are not Jews at all. So I don't even know why he used that. The book did I just referenced from Arthur Kessler. You had Aaron Hawk, who tried to do a genetic study, who tried to sequence Khazarian DNA with modern people that we see that are in those areas today. The one reason why you can't do that, because it's been overran with so many empires. It's a melting pot within the Levant area, and plus in those areas that we see within this Caucasus area. So if you look down, you look here, it says the kingdom of Eretu ran through this area, which is the Achaemenid Empire. Then you also have the Proto-Armenian. And so when you begin to look at these very areas that you see, all of these areas that you see had the Parthian Empire was stretched right here to this area. Then you see Pontus over here, so you can kind of see that during these areas, even the Romans and different area, different people had this area already prior to, before you even get to a 700 AD, a Khazarian Empire. So that holds no weight at all. So he tried to pull the black card. That's not going to work. You know what I'm saying? Because we see that they've been, and as he stated clearly, Israelites have been scattered. And if they've been scattered, and even what we see today, look at Kobe Bryant. If he's an Israelite, look, he has a white woman. So if that is the case, look how his children came out. They came out light. You know what I'm saying? So if he, his woman is not white, she's actually I want to say Italian, or she might be Hispanic or something like that. So if they took her to a European, then we see that could take place. Now his argument concerning Ashkenazi. Ashkenazi is just the place where these Jews dwelt at. You have your Sephardim Jews. Why? Because they dwelt in Spain. So they're Spanish Jews. They speak Ladino. Then you also have the Ashkenazi Jews, which means this German Jew. Now, when you look at this text, this is Acts chapter 2 and 7. Look what it says here, verse 8. It says, and how hear we every man in our own tongue where we were born, Parthians and Medes and Elamites and dwellers of Mesopotamia and Judea, Phrygia, Pamphylia, Egypt, and different parts of Libya, and Cyrene, and strangers of Rome, and proselytes. So we see that these are many Jews from different areas. Even Paul called himself a Roman because that was his nativity. That's where he was born as a Roman citizen. And so then when we start looking at who else did this type of thing just as well? Plenty of Jews did this. As I say, the Sephardim Jews, the Sephardic Jews. You have the Mizraim Jews. So you can't Israelite or Hebrew being called a Grecian. So the argument of this guy coming from Ashkenaz it does not work. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't make any sense. You know, it wouldn't work, because we see that in the history of things, Jews have been stretched all out through the earth. So if he speaks English, so he will be called. He speaks English, and he speaks. He's an American. He will be called a American because he's in America. Not that he speaks English. I'm sorry about that, but he's in America, so he's an American. So this may be what they say, maybe the bywords or whatever that they say. That if that's the case, so that argument is very weak and shallow. So then, getting back to the Arthur Koestler thing. Genetics is something that we need to deal with. And as y'all can see my screen, I have scientific evidence that can trace those who are who we say that are Ashkenazis are German Jews back unto those other groups that are groups who never left the land. For instance, the Sumerian Jews. The Sumerian Jews never they was taken off in the Assyrian period, but a remnant was left, according to Hezekiah, when he said the remnant that was left. So they never left the land. They never experienced a 70 AD because they wasn't there at that time. So they never left the land, and they're still there to this day. You could type in the Sumerian Jews. And so then what about the Elephantine Jews? What about the Ethiopian Jews? All of these different Jews share something with each other, and that's what you call a close, which in their genetics that are closely related to each other. So when this brother is sitting up there saying that these Ashkenazi Jews are not Jews, he's definitely wrong. He has no evidence. He hasn't provided any evidence, and then he came out with the Khazarian theory. Which this is something that is political. This is a Jew, first of all, Koestler, who was tired of being of using the term anti-Semitism and being persecuted by supposedly Christians that will persecute Jews because they believe that he crucified Christ. So in the battles that we see, in the wars that we see that happen with the Jews and Christians concerning them persecuting them because they crucified Christ. You know what I'm saying? So this is clear. So of course he would come out and term with the book the 13th tribe, but the Khazarian theory holds no weight and has been abandoned by many scholars because it has no
60 seconds.
Scholastic evidence for it. Because first of all, as we stated here, if you look in this article here, even by Aaron Hawk, who supported the Khazarian theory, he says that there is no Khazarian DNA that has been vanquished. So there is no DNA to even sequence a Khazarian in the first place. You can't go to some place and say, well, these are the Khazarians today, so they got to be them back then. Those people don't even look at themselves as Khazarians or the kingdom. It's different people that ran over those areas, empires, So his arguments are not even logical. I mean, they don't even make any sense. They're not even scholarly. This brother is talking on emotions, it seems like to me. You know what I'm saying? So, and then I just gave you a quote from why he came out with the Khazarian theory. Why? Because the 13th tribe. Why? Because he was tired of the politicians and the politicking behind this thing, and he
Time.
wanted to stop.
Time.
Why? Because he was tired of politics and the politicking.
Family, y'all can hear me?
Yeah,
Is Jeremiah coming back for this last one, or he want me to jump in now?
jump in now.
All right, all praises. All right, family. So we got G Khan throwing some jabs at our brother. He threw a left hook. I don't know if he's gonna come with the right one in the last round, but he threw some left hooks, asserting that YirmeYah has no scholarship, that his argument is BS, that basically Arthur Kistler was basically getting a paper trail, about to get his ass whooped by some Christians. So this is why he inserted this book, to basically cover himself, to push an agenda that wasn't even true. So the brother's trying to throw an argument that that book is trash, that the book was not a good source of reference to use, because Arthur Kistler himself, being a Jew, was actually being persecuted by Christians. He also said, he mentioned that there's also other specks of Jews all throughout Ethiopia, through the Levant region, all over the world. So that also throws, and he also, last but not least, said that the brother's not using no scholarship, that YirmeYah is just using plain emotions to throw the audience off. So he throwing a left hook at YirmeYah, y'all. So we gotta find out if YirmeYah gonna come back with that right hook. So I'm gonna stop right there, y'all. But that left hook was thrown at him, saying that basically he was asserting this book is trash and that he's just using his emotions. What you gonna do, YirmeYah? The floor is yours, Ak.
All right. Yashar, you there?
YirmeYah, the floor is yours, Ak.
All right.
Waiting on you, Ak. Let me know when you're ready.
Okay. 1 second here. 1 second. All right. So I want to make this clear. Arthur Koslaw family was murdered. Him and his wife was found dead, right? And there's been many assertions that he was killed by his own people. Now, why would they kill him? They'd kill him because he was bringing out truth and facts about the true history of these people. They're not actually descendant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You understand? They're not descendant of Jacob. So we have to understand this, family. This is why he's able to go and find some stuff about what they're saying. He's lying, this, that, and the third. The reason you can find that is because he was bringing hard-hitting evidence, exposing these people for their lies. All right. So let's make this clear. This is Revelation chapter 2, verse 9. It says, I know thy works and tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich, and I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not Jews, but are the synagogue of Satan. This is the book here called Cruel Hope, family, by YirmeYah, right? By YirmeYah, which is a Jew, by the way. So don't run anti-Semitism on this, because this is coming from a so-called Jewish man. What did he say here? What did this Jewish man say? He says here, let's get this information. He says, it says, the Talmud teaches that the Jews are the chosen people of God to lead mankind. In practice, this makes them God and gives them the rights to redefine reality. It has made them Luciferian. And in the words of Henry Rosenthal, most Jews don't like to admit it, but our God is Lucifer, and we are his chosen people. Lucifer is very much alive. This is Henry Madcow in the book Cruel Hoax. I encourage you to go get that. Exposes a lot of what they're doing in society today, using the CIA and other governmental programs to destroy the world. Let's go back into Arthur Koslaw real quick, because I'm on a
short time, and I want to get this information out. I'm going to page 66 real quick, right? So on page 66, it says what? It says here, page 66, a list of questions about the Khazarian states, its people, methods of government, armed forces, and so on, including an inquiry to which of the 12 tribes Joseph belonged to. This seems to indicate that the thoughts that the Jewish Khazarians that hailed from Palestine as the Spanish Jews did not, and perhaps even to represent one of the lost tribes of Joseph, as he tried to insert. It says, not being of Jewish descent, belonging of course to note of the tribes, right? What else we got here? Verse 67, it says what? It says, his hands and makes his kingdoms lost to the end of the world. Thus, of course, inspired by the story of the conversion in Genesis, the story of the covenant in Genesis. And it implies that the Khazarians to claim the state of a chosen race who made their own covenant with the Lord, even though they were not descended from Abraham's seed. Not descended from Abraham's seed. These people are not descended from Abraham's seed. You do not just get to just make up and just choose any race to be when these people are totally different. I'm going into a book. Let's see about Adolf Hitler. Let's look at Adolf Hitler. This is the book of the Nazis, World War II. This is a historical book from Timeline. Let's look at the Jews here. Y'all see that? This is a modern day Jew. This is what they look like, right? But Adolf Hitler has something to say about that, family. He says what? Cabal and Hitler personally appraised a new German movie when the Fury complained that the film exposes the Nazis lying were too scarce. Cabal rushed a pair of anti-Semitic pictures in production. It says what? In one segment of a Nazi instruction film, the genetics, the genetics and heritage of the Jew in particular traces the origins to Negro. Go look at this, family. To Negro. All right. Then it says what? Hence, the film concludes that the Jew today is a bastard. As we read in Zechariah 9 and 8, a bastard shall dwell in Ashdod. And this is the biblical prophecy coming true, family. This guy don't know what the hell he's talking about, okay? This guy is not astute when it comes to the scriptures. Why? Because he's a Christian. He classifies himself as a Christian, and he calls himself a Hamite, right? So it says what? It says that these people are traces the Oriental Negro. Oriental Negro. Now, if you know anything about ancient maps, I can pull it up, but it's going to kill me on time. You know anything about ancient maps, Israel from the Mediterranean Sea all the way to China was called Asia. Asia. This is why the Muslims, Farrakhan's Muslims, calls our ancestors Asiatic. Because that whole region was known as the Asiatic region. Okay? So not only has the Bible said that they're not the people, those that say they are Jews are not Jews, but are the synagogue of Satan. Then you have Adolf Hitler, who was supposed to be killing and destroying the Jews, found out that he himself was a Jew. What did Hitler say about America? Let's get more history on what Hitler said. What did Hitler say here? Let's see. Right? Hitler said, he said, why will the Jews control America? The soldiers asked. Right? The soldiers asked Hitler, said, because the white Jews knows that the Negroes are the real children of Israel, and to keep America secret that the Jews will, that the real Jews are in America. The Jews will exhort America, exhort their plan, right? As Hitler here, family, is exposing. Now, let me get another article because I'm running short on time. Here's Hitler again. Confession. This is what I'm getting. This is what I'm reading, family. Okay? It says what? Hitler said even in his death, he will start World War III. One of the soldiers asked, how? Hitler replied, the day mankind finds out what I was trying to defend, this nation, Germany, from then that the day World War III will start. For on that day, mankind will learn that I have tried to save my nation from Freemasons. Then it goes on to say, do you know who America has in its possession? No. The soldier replied, the America has the jewels or the jewelry of God. And God, of the jewelry of God, the Americans have stolen God's chosen people. So you don't get to just try to, oh, well, these people moved over here and then all of a sudden they was Jews. You got a white man that's a Jew and this and that. No, these are genetic people. Also, there's a book that Farrakhan made, The Secret Relation Between Jews, which speaks about the history of the slave ships and the Jews who owned the slave ships, thus bringing forth the Atlantic slave trade, bringing the real Israelites to America. This is what Hitler was speaking against. This is what Farrakhan was bringing out. This is what Arthur Koestler was talking about. This is, you're saying we don't have history. This is what Babylon Timbuktu was talking about. These are historians. These are people that are bringing forth the information that you and I, descendant of slaves, we are the true chosen people of the Most High. And these people here are bastards. They are liars and they are converts.
Time.
Okay.
All right, family. All right, family. The champ is here. The champ is here. The champ is here. He threw G-Con threw that left hook, but the champ came back with that right. He must have caught him up in that upper chin area. You know, it get real weak because the champ threw some facts at him. And now G-Con got to come back with some stuff, man. But, yo, listen to this, y'all. He came back strong. The champ hit him with, woo, that was some smoke, champ. He hit him with the Nazis' World War II book where Hitler himself declared who the real Jews are and what they look like, showing that there was an Asiatic Negroid phenotype people. The champ also hit him with a book called Crew House by Henry Mancow. He brought out some good information from that book. He also went back into Arthur Kistler's book to reassure and confirm why Arthur Kistler brought out those facts about the fake Jews. He also brought out another secret conversation that Hitler had between him and his soldier. It was actually translated from German writing to English, and it was published. I actually have the book. It's called the Minkampf, and it actually shows you how Hitler actually had a conversation telling them and predicting what was going to happen with a third World War III and about God's people being in America. And last but not least, y'all, he went to Revelations 2:9. I know thy works and thy tribulation. I know thy poverty. And he also know those that say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. The famous scripture that Israel know about those Khazar broad cup top Abraham Lincoln looking bastards. So with that, family, G-Con, The champ don't hit you with that right, man. He hit you in that little soft spot right there, man. Them knees might be buckling. So I don't know. You might be looking like my man 2 weeks ago with them knees shrinking. So you got some responding to do to that, family. And with that, I'm gonna shut up, man. But the champ just hit you with that right hook. Let's go.
Let me know when you're ready, G-Con.
All right, cool. I'm ready.
All right, let's rock.
All right, cool. Now, what's odd is if you notice, this brother quoted books, right? Like he quoted stuff that is not in Mein Kampf. You have, different books that Hitler wrote, and those quotes that he was quoting were from people that was quoting, there was people who is misquoting Hitler. That's the first thing. So the books that he was giving off, these quotes that we see that he was saying are not found in Hitler's writings at all. I don't know where that brother got that stuff from. These different books, like even when he talked about Mein Kampf, that's not in there, bro. I don't know where you got that from. Even when he talked about the Jews being black or whatever, none of that is there, bro. And another thing is Hitler did not like black people. I hope you knew that. You know what I'm saying? So he's not gonna say, because these Jews are they taking the black people's place. Nah, Hitler had a problem with even at the Olympics, because he's seen basically what blacks was doing at the Olympics, and he had a problem with that. You know what I'm saying? Of outrunning people that we see that was Germans there at that time. So he did not like black people. So I don't even know why you even brought that out, bro. None of those quotes that you brought out from those books, and I dare you, bro. I'm glad you said that live, because when I do the recap on this, we're gonna show that this brother had brought out information that is not factual at all, and that's horrible, bad scholarship. Now, getting to some things right now, he brought out Zechariah. I mean, he brought out Revelations, right? I want to say Revelations 3 and 9, right? Now, he says, behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee, right? So we see that also in we see that the persecution of Jews persecuting believers in the church at that time is definitely evident. We actually are going to bring out a scripture. Let's look at Romans chapter.
Hey, that's not the scripture I quoted, by the way.
No, I'm just saying this. Still saying they the synagogue of Satan, though, so it don't matter. You still use
Yeah, G-Con, he quoted 2 and 9, family.
Okay, well, 2 and 9, Revelations 2 and 9. All right, 2 and 9. It says, I know thy works and tribulation and poverty, right? He says, but thou art rich, and I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. Same thing, really. Romans chapter 2. It's Romans chapter 2. All right, so it says here, it says, this is verse 17. Behold, thou art called a Jew and rested in the law, and makest thy boast of God. So they call themselves Jews, right? And rested in the law and make their boast of God. But let's look at what Paul was speaking of when he said, what is a true Jew? He says, verse 28, for he is not a Jew, which is one outwardly, neither is that circumcision which is outward in the flesh, but he is a Jew, which is one inwardly, and circumcision is that of the heart and spirit, and not in the latter, whose praise is not of men, but of God. So what Paul is saying is, these guys that are calling themselves Jews are not even circumcised in heart. So they are not Jews, but are the synagogue of Satan. And to prove that, let's go to where is it at? Let's see. Let's go to Let's see, where is it at? Let's go to I want to say, is it in Second Thessalonians 2 and 5, 1 Thessalonians 2 and 15. 1 Thessalonians 2 and 15. Look what it says here. It says, is that it? First, I'm in second. I'm in 1 Thessalonians 2 and 15. So if you look at 1 Thessalonians 2:15, it says here, for ye, brethren, have become followers of the churches of God, which in Judea are in Christ. For ye also have suffered like things of your own countrymen, even as they have of the Jews, right? Who both killed the Lord Jesus and their own prophets, and have persecuted us, and they please not God, and are contrary to all men, forbidding us to speak to the Gentiles that they might be saved, to fill up their sin always, for the wrath is come upon them. So the very text that the brother used in for the synagogue of Satan, which is Jews who was chasing Paul and persecuting the church, are these synagogues of Satan that we see, which are actually Jews but are not circumcised in heart. So therefore Paul and also Christ says they are not Jews, because we know what a true Jew is. So that scripture is not going to work, first of all. Now, getting back to the Khazarian theory, right? Now, genetically, as I stated before, I stated this, and I brought this to him. And if you look right, look at my screen. If you look at my screen, right?
You ain't got no screen up, bro.
It should be coming up in a minute. It should be coming up now, because it says start. It says sure. If you look right, these are studies that we see that deals with the genetics of things, right? We know that genetics is a science. I'm not saying it's an absolute science, but it can show when there's a connection, a closely related genes of two people or different organisms or species, whatever. So the thing is the Ashkenazi Jews are closely related to the Limba Jews, Mizraim Jews, Sephardic Jews, and one of the markers that we see is the JC1, the J1C3 gene, and what they call that is the Cohen gene. Now, what that is it is not it's not necessarily a Cohen gene or a Jew marker, but what it is it's a marker that we see that predates that. But what it shows is that it's a mutation that took place, and a lot of the Cohen have this mutation. I don't know why they have it, but what they did was they had certain Jews or Kohen or priests that got together and they sing that they ask themselves, well, we say that we're family, we're close related, and we're Kohen priests. We should share close genes with each other. So what they did was they took a genetic test. When they took the DNA test, they found out that they are closely related to and have a common ancestor that goes back a certain amount of time, according to the rate that we see of accumulation, the accumulation rate within the molecular clock that we see of one organism to the next organism. So what we see is that there is a clock that we see that we can clock that and say, well, let's trace this back and see when did this mutation arise. And it's not that it's a Jew marker, but what it's showing is that these people have something in common with each other, and the stories that they're telling, as far as their traditions, and also their extra biblical sources and biblical migrations, it counts out. It checks out. It actually checks out. So they checked other Kohen. They checked the Limbas. The Limbas have the same mutation. They have the same mutation. And other people in those surrounding areas don't have that mutations, but the Limbas have it. And so then also we have it to where the Sumerian Jews, they have the same mutation. So all the Jews that they're finding around the world, they're saying that they're Jews, they share this mutation that are Kohen. among the Kohen. Now, outside of the Kohen, you have just regular Israelites, right? Regular Jews, right? Now, they have markers. They have J markers, J1, J2 markers. They have also T markers. These markers that we
60
see,
seconds.
these markers that we see are closely related to each other. I mean, these markers that we see that are mutations that come out of certain areas to where you can look at them geographically, showing that where these mutations came from, and show the migration of these people through these markers. It shows that their stories check out of these people that are saying they are traditionally Jews by biblical migrations, or through historical content, or through the genetics. So this you can check this out right here. This is rethinking the Khazari theory. You can go and check that out. Type that in. Look up the studies that we see of the scientific evidence and 12 DNA studies which disprove the Khazari theory, showing that these guys have Middle Eastern DNA, and the Khazarian bones are dislinguished, and they have not been sequenced. So you can't say that these people are Khazarians or any of those things.
Time.
All right. That was a battle. Three rounds of fighting, 3 rounds of information. Both brothers came out swinging hard, throwing jabs, throwing uppercuts, throwing right hooks. You know what I'm saying? So this is the most important part of this debate, the question and answer part. Each contestant gets to ask each other 3 questions apiece, and then after that, we'll go to the audience and let them call in, or let them type in their questions for each contestant. And then what we'll do, we'll have one of the sisters create a poll so everybody can vote on this debate. You know what I'm saying?
So after the question, you got 2 minutes to answer.
Okay, good stuff, Sean. Bet. So who want to go first?
I'll go first.
All right.
All right, so my question is, Brother G-Con, what race of people are behind DNA tests?
You have Jews, and you also have Jews, and you also have other biologists that are Europeans.
So let me get this straight. We're supposed to trust the Jews who brought us in cargo slave ships, and and the white man who beat us on the cotton field. We're supposed to trust that they're going to tell us the truth about who we are.
Well, you need to stop using their books that you just quoted then.
Well, the Bible tells us that he's going to pour out his spirit on all flesh to tell the truth, brother.
Well, they telling the truth then? Well, he poured his spirit out on them then.
So he poured out his spirit on them for them to tell the truth.
You got the Bible today, don't you? How'd you get it? You didn't get it by your ancestors.
I got it from my ancestor, King James, who was a black man. Understand that?
Well, hold on. There was Bibles before King James.
Yeah, but I read the King James. Okay.
Right, but there was Bibles before King James.
Okay, but I read the King James.
What's the date on King? The date of King James is around 1611. Before there was 1611 Bibles.
I'm not concerned about what's before that. I'm telling you, I use King James, who's my ancestor.
Right, but before then, how did you get it? Because last I checked, we got a Septuagint.
I was not even born in the 1611. So what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah, but your ancestors was, and they passed it down. And who did they pass it down to?
Our information was written on scrolls before that. Okay.
Oh, was it? Did you got a Septuagint?
Yeah.
And who was that? Who they were speaking Greek? They was Greeks, right? Greek speaking Jews, right?
My ancestors.
Whoa. Hey, hold on for a minute.
You're right.
Wait. Yeah, this supposed to be the question. He asked 3 questions, then you asked 3 questions. Unless y'all want to do a rapid fire back and forth. I'm cool with that. Y'all cool?
He's giving me short answers, so I mean I'm dialoguing with him. You understand? So we're still on topic.
Okay.
So
Okay. All right.
he's telling us, he's telling you and I to go get a DNA test. When I have a DNA test, it's called the Bible. Okay? The Bible's my DNA test. I don't need some test from some white man. All right. And I've already had a debate for those who haven't seen it. I've already had a debate disproving DNA. Okay. You cannot trace DNA back to antiquity. You can trace it as far as your mother or your father or your grandparents. But when you're going back 100 generations, you're not going to be able to use DNA to do that. I already disproved that. So it's a weak ass argument. All right. For him to be asserting that. What I need him to explain to me is the racial ethnicity difference between these people right here, these people, and the so-called Negro today. How do you explain that?
Those
Okay.
are
You understand this question, G-Con?
yeah. Basically, what happens is you have those who are Israelites, right? Of colored Israelites that go into what we see Germany or Europe. And what they do is they take on women who are of European descent. And the genetics show that. The genetics show that 30% to 40% of their maternal line is comes from European descent. The rest is from Middle Eastern descent. Out of the paper that I showed you, that I showed. So that's how that happens. And so you looking at it, that's just nothing but Katasa. That's an older version of Katasa. That's all that is. For instance, he talk about he talks about genetics or whatever, but I'm pretty sure if his kids or anybody gets sick himself, he's going to take them to the hospital because they got remedies and they understand stuff because they have sequenced the genome. And so I'm not saying it's an absolute science, but when it comes to migration patterns, it definitely can. And when it comes to migration patterns, that stuff definitely can help. And even who you mating with, when it comes to blood types, it's very important.
That's your time. Go ahead with your question.
All right, hold on before you start. Okay, now that was one question, right?
Yeah.
That was two questions.
That was two? Okay.
You got one more?
You got one more, Jeremiah.
Oh, okay. My question is, how do you explain the curses of Deuteronomy 28 that befell? And let me make this clear so everybody will know. Did the curses just fall on some of the Israelites, or did they fall on all of the Israelites? Because these people right here, are running the world. Okay? These people are a CEO of Coca-Cola, the commissioner of the NBA, the owner of the NFL. Okay, they're your damn owner of damn all of your corporations in the world, all of the major corporations. These people are the owners. Okay, all right. So what I'm saying is, how do you? Let me get this. Deuteronomy 28, right? Deuteronomy 28. It says what? Deuteronomy chapter 28 says that.
Hey Jeremiah, you got to mute your mic. You got some static, brother. I'm talking about not you, YirmeYah, but Jeremiah.
My mic was muted, family.
Somebody got some bad static.
That might be it. That might be your Obama phone.
Right.
That ain't me.
All right. So
all right, family.
It says the curses of Deuteronomy 28. When you go to Daniel's chapter 9, verse 11, it says, "Yea, all Israel have transgressed thy law, even by departing, that they might not obey." It says, all Israel have transgressed thy law, even by departing, that they might not obey the voice of the Lord thy God. Therefore, the curses is poured upon us, and the oath that is written in the law of Moses, the servant of the Most High, because we have sinned against him. When you go to Deuteronomy chapter, that means all of them. When you go to Deuteronomy chapter 28, it says that they would lend to us and we wouldn't lend to them. We would build a house and we wouldn't lie in it, right? We would go to them and want for all things. How can we go to ourselves if you're claiming that they're Israelites and we're Israelites? So what you're saying is we're going to go to ourselves. We're going to enslave ourselves. We're going to be brought in cargo slave ships, according to Deuteronomy 28, by ourselves. So we're going to enslave ourselves, be on the bottom and be on the top at the same damn time. Can you explain that, sir?
Okay, G-Con, do you understand his question? He's saying, if the Jews enslaved us, how he's basically saying, how do we enslave ourselves? Because you're saying both are Jews.
Right. So
go ahead,
right.
family. You got 2 minutes.
So what happens is I hit that Zechariah. Can y'all mute your mic, please? I hit that Zechariah chapter 14 for a reason, because in the Zechariah 14, it shows that Israel is back in the land before Christ comes back. So I believe that 1948 was a prophecy of God. And so if 1948 is a prophecy of God, and we see that they came back to the land, because we see in Zechariah chapter 14, we see that droves of Jews are in that land, and we see in 1948 Jews are coming back since they was told that they can come back. Then we have to look at Zechariah 14 and have to question ourselves and say, was 1948 a prophecy, seeing that Zechariah 14 positions the Jews before Christ come back in the land? Now, is the land of Israel still trodden down by Gentiles? It definitely is, but because you see the Jews that are striving and fighting every day. Revelations 11 talks about that there's going to be a third temple that's built, and we see that the temple is going to be measured to people that's in the altar, but the outside of the court is given unto the Gentiles. If this brother says that is the millennium temple, then he have lost his mind, because we see clearly that when you read the rest of that passage, we see what goes on outside of that temple in the millennium time, which is a lot of the city of Jerusalem will be called spiritually Sodom and Egypt. And I'm pretty sure during the millennium temple, God ain't going for that. We see Isaiah 2 said that many will go up to the mountain of God and worship God. So it's safe to say that Zechariah 14 is in reference to a city that we see of the city of Jerusalem with Israelites that are in there, who Christ is coming back to come and save from the nations that are gathered around them. Now, it's like a Cyrus thing. Cyrus was somebody that was definitely.
Can you answer the question? God damn! Can you?
Refrain yourself. He got 2 minutes to answer. That's it. That was his time. All right, yeah. Calm down, Art. Okay. Now, the brother feel like you didn't answer the question. So would you like to address? Would you like to give him 1 more minute, Jeremiah, to answer it for you?
Please answer the question.
All right, you got 1 more minute. All right.
What was your question again? Because I thought I answered it.
The man don't even know what the question is, man.
No, because I thought I answered it, bro. So I don't
Well,
even
he
know.
said he answered. Okay. I mean, he said he answered.
Rephrase it again. The children of Israel was all of them fell to the curses. So that means that the curse, according to Daniel's chapter 9, all of the curses of Deuteronomy was going to fall on all the children of Israel. So how can we enslave ourselves, lend? How can we be on the top and be on the bottom? Lend to ourselves, we borrowing from ourselves. According to you, these Ashkenazis are the real Jews. The white man is the real Jews. The ones that's running the world, the ones with all the money. How could they be Israelites when the curses of Deuteronomy 28 and according to Daniel's, the curses fell on the children of Israel, sir?
Basically the same way that we see when Christ came back during the Roman period time. When Christ came back, we see clearly they was in business with the nations, doing business with the nations. Christ says, you have made this house supposed to be a house of prayer, but you have made it a house of merchandise. So it's the same that we see now. If he gathered them back in 1948, and we see in Zechariah 14 that they are back in the land before Christ come back, it's safe to say that we see that they were still in Christ's time oppressing the people. The Israelites was, because they was over the people, but they was doing business with the Romans and made the house of God out of a house of merchandise. So that's the same thing that we see that's going on today. They was doing business with Herod back then, building projects, but the people that we see was still in the poor condition, because when Christ came back, we clearly seen they were still scattered. People were still having sickness and diseases, but the people who was over them was benefiting. So these very Jews that he said, I know that thou Abraham's seed, but you seek to kill me. These are the same Jews you say today that are wickedness, whom God will come up out of Zion and turn away ungodliness from these wicked Jews at that time. But look how many of those Jews is going to perish and die, and many of Israelites that are dispersed that are dying to this day because not following the instructions of the Most High God. So that's clear, bro. Like that's easy money.
All right. That was 1 minute, Jeremiah. Hold up now. All right. Timekeeper, it's now this brother G Consonant's turn to ask his 3 questions. So once he asks a question, start the clock for Jeremiah. He got 2 minutes to answer.
That's right.
And in Zechariah 14, right? It says that hold on, Zechariah 14, let's get it there. It says, the Lord, behold, the day of the Lord cometh, and thy spoil should be divided in the midst of thee. For I will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle, and the city shall be taken, and the houses rifled, and the women ravaged.
Zechariah 14, where you at, bro?
Zechariah 14, verse 1, and I'm going down to 4. I mean, verse 1 through 4. It says, and for I will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle, and the city shall be taken, and the houses rifled, and the women ravaged, and half of the city shall go forth into captivity, and the residue of the people shall not be cut off from the city. Then shall the Lord go forth to fight against those nations as when he fought in the day of battle. I have a question for you, brother. The question is this: what time frame is this, and who are these people that are in the land during this time before Christ come back?
Okay, I've already answered that question, all right, in my second round, and I'll answer it again. Okay, I answered it in Luke chapter 21, verse 24. This is talking about during the time of Christ's return. When he returns to take back the land.
Who is in the land, though? That's what I'm asking you. Who is in the land before he return? Because it says somebody's in the land right here.
Okay, I already answered that in Luke chapter 21, verse 24. Would you like me to read that?
Right, but I'm saying, look what it says here. It says, let me read, before you read that, make sure it says, and the residue of the people shall not be cut off from the city. So he says he's gathering all nations against Jerusalem to battle. So if he's gathering against Jerusalem to battle, these are all nations. So you're saying that those people basically are the Gentiles, but he's gathering all nations against Jerusalem to battle. And it says the residue of the people shall not be cut off. And it says the spoil of the people shall be divided in the midst of them. So you have the nations just surrounding Jerusalem, and then you have a people that was there in Jerusalem. Who is those people?
Who is the people? Okay, so is this talking about the city of Jerusalem, or is this word Jerusalem referring to the people?
It says the city. It says the residue of the people shall not be cut off from the city. He will gather all nations surrounding Jerusalem. And don't misquote it, because Zechariah chapter 12 and 13 also says the same thing.
Yeah, those people are heathen.
Then it says he will gather all the nations against Jerusalem. So how are those heathens if he's gathering the nations against Jerusalem? And it says the people shall be ravished, and half of the city.
The final war, which you agree is supposed to take place in the valley of Jehoshaphat. Is that correct?
Well, not the final war.
What do you mean? World War, the war that Christ is going to be kicking off is going to happen in the valley of Jehoshaphat, correct?
So there's a war right here that we see. That there's a war also that happens in Magog, up in those areas.
No. I'm saying to you that there's a war that's supposed to happen.
Right.
The children of
Israel. Hold on, brother. Hey, listen, brother.
Brother.
Don't ask me no questions. It's time for you to answer.
Hold on, hold on. Hey, let's get some order, everybody. We got a lot of people watching.
Let me rephrase my
All right,
question because it seems to
all
me.
right. Just fill your first question. Yashar, is you keeping time? 'Cause I think that was over 2 minutes for YirmeYah to answer. But go ahead. Let's
No,
get.
I had to stop because G-Con cut in and start reading scripture again. So I
Okay.
had to stop his time.
All right,
So
G-Con.
before he asks, let me rephrase the question.
Okay.
Clarify the question because he seems that he don't know. Okay,
Okay.
look.
And then give him 2 minutes to answer. Then we'll get back on track. Okay, let's go.
So if you, it's clear here. It says, "For I will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle, and the city shall be taken, the houses rifled, and the women ravished." So there's women there, and there's people there, and it says, "Thy spoil should be." He says, "Thy spoil should be divided in the midst of thee." So if the nations is gathered against Jerusalem, the city, and you're saying that these are heathens going against heathens, that's basically what you're saying. That's not correct. So
that is correct. That is
G-Con, could you ask your question, brother?
So who are the people? Who are the people that is in this city that we see?
Those are heathen.
Heathen Israelites or what?
No, listen, brother. I don't know if you understand what. Listen to the words coming out of my mouth. Those are heathen. Now let me answer the question, and please don't interrupt me, brother. All right. Let's make it clear to everybody watching.
You got 2 minutes to answer, G-Con. Go ahead, YirmeYah.
All right. This is Isaiah chapter 60, right? This is Isaiah chapter 60, verse 12. It says, for the nations, let's start at 10. It says, and the strangers and the sons of strangers shall build up thy walls, and their kings shall minister. The word minister means to serve. Their kings shall minister unto thee. For in my wrath I smote thee, but in my favor have I had mercy upon thee. Therefore thy gate shall be open continually. They shall not be shut day or night, that men may bring unto thee the forces of the Gentiles, and that the kings may be brought. Verse 12, for the nations and kingdoms that will not serve thee shall perish, yea, those nations shall be utterly wasted. So this is during the time of Christ. It says what? When the children of Israel are back in the land, family, when we go back, this is what it says in verse 18. Violence shall no more be heard in thy land, wasting nor destruction within thy borders. But thou shalt call thy wall salvation and thy gates praise. All right. Is there war going on in the land right now? Yeah. Is there war going on in Zechariah? Yeah. So the children of Israel are not back in the land. I yield.
All right. And that was his first question. Go ahead, G-Con, with your second question. All
right, cool. So let's deal with this article here. With the this is Arthur. You quoted Arthur Kessler, right? Now the question that I have for you is prior to the Khazarian Empire, was Israelites already in that land prior to?
What you mean?
Was Israelites in that geographical location prior to? Because we have the you quoted the Caucasus Mountains of where these people was dwelling at, and I'm asking you, was Israelites in that land during the Assyrian Empire, also the Medes and Persians and the Parthian empires? Were they in that land prior to the Assyrian Empire? Is around 800, Neo-Assyrian around 800 something BC, and the Khazarian Empire is around 700 AD. So I'm asking you, was Israelites in those areas prior to that? Because Christ was dealing with people that was in Parthenia just as well.
I ask you very clearly, prior to what? BC
prior to the Khazarian kingdom.
Before the Khazarian kingdom, was they in the land of Khazaria?
Yes. Prior to
no.
That. Okay. Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
right, you got one more question, family.
Let's see. Revelation.
Brother, is this your next question?
Yeah, it's my next question.
Okay.
Calm down, bro.
I'm calm.
A little tense, a little bit.
No, brother, I'm calm. I'm just wiping the floor with you. That's all I'm doing.
All right. So first, Second Thessalonians 2 and 4. Let's see where's it at. First Thessalonians 2 and 4. Let's see, is it? Oh, here it is right here. Okay, so we'll read this real quick, and I want to know your response to this. How you interpret this. It says, somebody got to mute their mic.
Oh, that's me. My fault. My fault.
Okay, this is verse 3. 2 Thessalonians 2 and 3. It says, "Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except except their coming falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, whoso opposes himself above all that is called God, or that is worship, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God." Now, in reference to that text that you read, showing that this person right here, the son of perdition, is going to sit in the temple of God and say that he is God. In reference to that text, and also Revelation chapter 11, which says that there will be a temple that will be built. What is the time frame of that? When does that happen? Or what is your interpretation of both of those chapters? This chapter that we see that I read to you, and then also Revelation chapter 11, starting with the temple we see. What is your interpretation?
I don't understand your question.
Yeah. Can you kind of shorten the question down a little bit, family?
2 Thessalonians 2 and 4, what I just read to you, it says that the son of perdition will be seated in the temple of God. That's what it says, to say that he is God. Now, when you read Revelation 11, it talks also about a temple too. What is your interpretations on this passage concerning the son of perdition being seated in the temple of God, and also Revelations 11? How do you interpret these passages?
What do you mean? How do I interpret them? Like, what is they got to do?
What is your understanding on it, bro? Like,
that's gonna take longer than 2 minutes.
Yeah, bro, I don't. Bro.
Yeah, real. You can't do it real brief.
No, that's a ridiculous question. It don't have nothing to do with the topic at hand, bro.
Well, yes, it does, because the Khazar, the Ashkenazis are going to build a third temple. Do you agree that they're going to build a third temple?
Do I believe who's going to build a third temple?
The Ashkenazis.
One of them isn't going to build a temple yet.
Okay, so is this text referencing that someone was in the temple say that they are God?
Yeah.
Okay, so Revelation 11, is that the third temple too?
Revelation 11 and what, bro?
Revelation 11 and 1. It says, let me read it to you. It says, see, Revelations 11 and 1. It says, "And there was given me a reed like unto a rod, and the angel stood and said, Rise and measure the temple of God, and the altar, and them that worship therein." But
no. This is a righteous temple. This don't got nothing to do with that temple that's in Thessalonians. What the hell are you talking about, brother? Those are two different things, bro. This is a righteous temple in Revelations.
Oh, so
what does that have to do with what we're talking about, bro?
Okay, that was your third question, G-Con. Now it's time for a couple people on the panel to ask a couple questions. Okay. I mean, wait. Is that your final answer, YirmeYah?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
All right. I'm gonna start with a question for both of y'all. My question is, I'm gonna ask each one of you this is my question for both of y'all. Are you a Gentile or Israelite? Start off with YirmeYah.
I'm a blood descendant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I'm an Israelite.
Okay. G-Con, same question to you.
I'm a Gentile.
Come on, man. Don't be laughing. Come on, man. Cut it out. Wait a minute. So, whoa. So, all right. Pick up my part two of my question. So, are the... Whoa. Come on, man. Come right. All right. Part two to my question. All right. Just for both of y'all. I'm going to start with Jeremiah. Are the Negroes Hebrew Israelite?
Negroes being distinctively different from the Hamitic lineage and the other lineages of color. Yes.
So would you consider yourself a Negro or would you consider yourself from Shem or Ham? How about that question right there?
I'm from Shem.
Okay, the same question go to G-Con.
I'm a Hamite. Big
then,
Hamite.
Okay, then that's why you say you're Gentile. Okay, I got it now. All right. Daquan, you got any questions, Art?
I don't know, man, because it you know, coming from his perspective, me hurting my heart over here. Let me see. What I want to ask G-Con. Okay, you know what? I got a good one. G-Con, answer this question, family. Because your stance of the Jews mixing so much from Asia Minor or that area of Western Africa, how do you believe that both the Negro or Ethiopian can have the same DNA as the Khazars or the European Jews over there today?
Because of the we see that there's a biblical migration in Zephaniah, I believe 3, from where we see that Jews had went down to Egypt, past Ethiopia. They went down past Ethiopia, and then we also see that there's biblical migrations, and extra biblical source. Hey, Jeremiah, you gotta mute your mic, brother. Whoever's mic, somebody got some feedback. There's also biblical migrations that we see extra biblical sources concerning the Ashkenazis going off into the provinces of Rome, where the Ashkenazis would have been at, where they wasn't called Ashkenazis, so they went to the area of the Roman Empire and different empires when they spread towards those areas in Germany. So they was off into those provinces already. So we see that that's where the admixture take place at. And when we do a genetic study, we find is that they actually are closely related to the genetic. And so they have the similar mutations, especially those who are Kohen priests with J1C3 gene.
That's from the Jewish people's DNA test, right?
You say what?
That's from the Jewish people's DNA test.
Yes, and also not just Jewish people. I named in there a couple of. If you go to that site that I went to, rethinking the Khazar theory, there's 12 studies that you can see, and these are not just Jewish people who are doing the DNA test. These are actually just random biologists just as well, because they didn't want it to be people don't want it to. They redid it because they didn't want people to they didn't want it to be no type of biased thing, because the people was complaining about it. So the other biologists, they went and did it. You know what I'm saying? Because people was complaining to the Jews about it. So
G-Con, hold on, that because it was more of a 2-part question, man. Don't put us to sleep, Ak. So you believe that Negroes and Europeans can share the same DNA?
Yeah, I actually me myself, I have like 14% European within me, which is average. You know what I'm saying? We did a brother's DNA test last night live, which was a Kevin G. He had like 24% of European descent in him. And so you have and what it is it's like, if you believe it, like most times people would have experienced rape, they would have experienced also different types of admixtures during that time. So you definitely can have admixtures and be closely related genetically with other groups of people.
So G-Con, I'm gonna start with this. You do know that that's asinine because that means that over 9 people must have been inside your mom, with all due respect. Because if you're gonna be from all the different migration patterns, that means that all these men had to put their seeds in your damn mom.
Well, I don't know where you got that from, but that ain't how it work. Autosomal
DNA
DNA.
just showing the migration patterns of where you could have been associated with. How the hell could you be associated with 9 different places at one time from a DNA strand? That
Right,
doesn't make
because
any sense.
yeah, I'm gonna tell you why. Because what you have is you have what you call autosomal DNA. Now, what happens is you have chromosomes, you have alleles, and once those pairs are passed down, you pass that down to your children, and your mother passed down one, which is X chromosome. If it's a daughter, then your father's going to pass on the X chromosome, which determine the sex. Well, on those chromosomes, on the X chromosome that he passed down are mutations, and so that's what we can look at of autosomal DNA passing from parents. That's how you get your when you talk about phenotypes and different mutations. Like for instance, sickle cell traits. If both of your parents got sickle cell trait and they got a trait, if they pass it down on their chromosome, then you have a positive. That child is going to come out with sickle cell. Why? Because both parties have sickle cell mutation, so therefore that child develops that sickle cell trait. If one party don't have it and the other party don't have it, then it's a hit and miss. So things pass down on your through chromosomes. So that's how you get autosomal DNA, and so that's the world. It goes back to Y chromosome Y chromosome Adam, and also X chromosome Eve. And so that's how we all from one blood. It says in Acts 17, from one blood God has made all people. So we all actually related to each other. It's just that we have different mutations. So you definitely
bro, how the hell is all people the same, man? That is ridiculous.
Okay.
So I said we related to each other. That's what I said.
All right. Okay.
All right, G-Con, I'm sorry, y'all. I didn't mean to put the audience to sleep, y'all. My bad, y'all.
All right. General Yashar, do you have any questions for the contestants?
Yeah, I got a question for G-Con. G-Con, that scripture you pulled out, and you was talking about the spoil, all right?
Mm-hmm.
And you was asking who is the spoil for, right? Can we go back to that scripture?
Yes, indeed. Feed the needy. All right, that's cool. It's verse 1. Behold, the day of the Lord cometh, and thy spoil should be divided in the midst of thee. For I will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle, and the city shall be taken, and the houses rifled, and the women ravished, and half of it, somebody got to really mute their mic, like it got bad static where you can even ask the audience. That sounds horrible. And half the city should go forth into captivity, and the residue of the people shall not be cut off from the city. Then shall the Lord go forth to fight and fight against those nations as when he fought in the day of battle. And his feet shall stand in the Mount of Olives, which is before Jerusalem on the east, in the Mount of Olives, which cleave in the midst thereof toward the east and toward the west. And there shall be a very great valley, and half of the mountain shall be removed towards the north, and half towards the south. Is that what you want me to read?
Right. So those people that the scripture is speaking about, this is talking about during the time of his return. Are we on the same page, or is this not?
Yes, we're on the same page.
Okay. So how are those people, right, that you speak about that's supposedly the Ashkenazi Jews, how are they related to those people that's spoken of in the scriptures on the day of his return?
You said how they related?
Yeah.
Well, basically, if you looked at what I did was I showed a third temple. So the reason why I showed a third temple is because that's dealing with politics. It's dealing with, in order to build a temple, you got to deal with Jerusalem, which is being trodden down, and you're gonna have to get the Temple Mount. And so what we see that in Zechariah, before Christ come back, we see there is people there, and we also see prophecies of a temple being built. And as this brother said, he said the Jews are going to build the temple, and he said clearly. I mean, and he said that clearly.
I said what?
You said that you said that those Jews are going to build the temple. That's what you said.
Yeah, but okay. So
build no temple, brother. What the hell are you talking about?
You said that those Ashkenazi. You said I asked you. I said, are they going to build a third temple? You said, yeah.
Yeah, but they're not real Jews, bro. Them are not Israelites.
Well, I mean, that's what the debate is about. So I understand it, but what I'm pointing out is this: before Christ come back, there are people that is in this land and in Jerusalem, and there's going to be a temple. Now, if they build that temple,
no, I get it. But are you familiar with the book Morals and Dogma?
Nah, who's the author of it?
I'm going to show you right now. Look at my screen, right?
Hold on.
This is a book called Morals and Dogma, right? This is by Albert Pike. Albert Pike, Morals and Dogma. In this book, family, this book was written in the 1800s, well before 1948. In this book, it tells that the British would place those fake Jews in the land based upon the infrastructure in which they created. Them going into the land have nothing to do with Bible prophecy and everything to do with the British mandate that came down from a plan that was devised in the 1800s.
What page? What page?
Say again?
What page? You looked real silly when I asked you what page. What page?
Brother, it's in the book, all right?
What page though, brother? I'm asking you what page.
It's in the book, all right?
You look lying, man, but let me go. Let's move on though.
Anybody, and this you do your recap and you go research this book and you find out that I'm not lying, you're gonna owe me an apology. Okay.
All right, cool. So let me ask you this question then, real quick. All right, so Cyrus, right? Was Cyrus a
Yeah.
The Cyrus, we have the Cyrus cylinder. You do know that, right? And in Cyrus cylinder, he not only sent Israel back to build their temple, but he sent Babylonians back to build their temple to the god of Marduk. So I want to ask you this question: are you saying that the same God who says in Zechariah 14 that he's going to gather the nations against them? Are you saying that he couldn't gather use the heathen to gather Israel back into the land?
No, because that's not Bible prophecy. Christ is going to lead the children of Israel back into the land, brother.
What's that? Listen, brother. Listen, it says.
Are you saying that it's a biblical prophecy that a British mandate is going to lead the children of Israel back in the land, and then they're going to be warring against other people and having homosexual parades in the land after they have been brought back from captivity? Is that what you're saying, brother?
No, I'm saying you have your time frame wrong. I'm saying that Zechariah 14 is the Millennium Kingdom. Zechariah 14 is before the Millennium Kingdom, and we see that it goes into the Millennium because we see at the top he comes back to deliver them, right, and save them from the nations that he has gathered against them. And then, somebody got to mute their mic, yo. Like you got it sounding horrible out here. Y'all got to
tell the people they can call in if they have any questions.
Right. So this what I'm saying. If you look at Zechariah 14 and you look at Revelations 11, this is the beginning when Christ coming back. Then once he's saved, then we go into the Millennium Kingdom. Now Revelations 11 is before the Millennium. You know how we know that? Because if you read farther down, it's telling you that Jerusalem is going to be a city of like spiritually Egypt and also Sodom. So that's before the millennium, bro. That's in the tribulation period. So when God says he's going to turn ungodliness away from Israel, that's clear. Now let me ask you.
That's ridiculous.
Hold up, y'all. I got a question for the audience. I mean, y'all getting off topic to me. I don't know. I thought this was supposed to be who we gonna prove the Khazars or the children of Israel. But y'all getting all that's for another debate. Now, Sister Diamond Gardner wants you guys to break down, both of y'all, Jeremiah 14 and 2. Who want to go first?
All right, let me get it. Hold on real quick.
There we go. I've been going first all night.
So Jeremiah, what again?
14:2.
Jeremiah.
Hey, Jeremiah, tell the people they can call in, bro.
Yeah, call in.
You still want me to keep a time for the answers?
Yes, sir.
All right. So since you gotta read and then you know what I'm saying give a little breakdown, I'm gonna give you 5 minutes on this one, G-Con.
All right, cool. All right, so it says the word of the Lord. This is Jeremiah 14:1. Somebody got to mute their mic. Jeremiah 14:1. It says the word of the Lord that came to Jeremiah concerning the dearth, right? There's dearth, famine. It says Judah mourneth, right? Watch this. The people is mourning. It says, and the gates their languish. So the gates, watch what it says concerning the gates. They are black unto the ground, and the cry of Jerusalem is gone up. You know why? Because Judah is crying because their gates have been burnt up. That's why they crying. And it says, in their nobles have sent their little ones to the waters. They came to the pits and found no water. So they can't put the fires out because ain't no water. That's what this is talking about. That's real simple. This is not talking about Judah as being black. Not to say that there is not a portion of Judah that is black, but this is not talking about that, though. Go ahead.
So Israelites just all races. That's ridiculous.
No, they one race. What are you talking about?
According to you, they're all white, black, Chinese, Australian. Ain't this any damn thing?
But if an Israelite go and have sex with a white person, right? With a white,
I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear what
if that is the case, then that child is a Israelite. That's one race. Right. It's just a different color.
These people have spawned an entire race and have governed themselves and set themselves in high positions all over the world.
Hey man, go answer the question, Jeremiah 14, man.
All right, I answer the question because you don't know what the hell you talking about.
You're right.
So it says the word of the Lord that came to Jeremiah concerning the drought, right? It says what? Verse 2. Judah mourneth, and the gates thereof languish. When it speaks of the gates languishing, it's talking about the leadership, family. The leadership have failed. The leadership have failed the children of Israel. They have failed the children of Judah. When you go and it talks about how the shepherds have deceived the people. When you go to Isaiah chapter 29, and it talks about the seers and the leaders have failed the people. And you go into Isaiah chapter 30, and it talks about the leadership and how it has failed the people. The scripture has twofold. It has a physical meaning and a spiritual one. So spiritually speaking, the gates thereof have languished. Is speaking about the leadership. They are black.
What does language mean?
All right.
Failed. They have stalled out.
That means weak and feeble. So the gates are weak, bro.
That's okay. That's okay.
All right, y'all. We have reached the 2-hour mark. I think it's time that we're gonna go on and shut this down. Both competitors came out with pretty good information, so we're gonna let the people decide. You know, some of y'all that's watching, put a 1 in the chat for YirmeYah, put a 2 in the chat for G-Con, and then we're also gonna get one of the sisters to create a poll for us out there in the Facebook street, so you can vote out that way as well. I'd like to also make an announcement that next Sunday I'll be getting back in the ring. Jeremiah Judah, JJ 7000, the People's Champion, will be going against Jihad, who goes hard in the yard with a bad report card. Will be this will be for his belt, the Intercontinental Championship, Lions Den Debate League Championship belt, the Intercontinental belt for the Lions Den. The topic is our RH neck. This is his topic that he chose. If you're RH positive, that makes you a Hebrew Israelite. I say no, because that includes everybody. So I'm going to be proving that is a lie. All right? Because it makes no sense to me. All right? Also, we got upcoming yesterday, if you missed it, Sister Carla, the Lions Den Women Debate League champion, she went on interrogation room with Sarnetta TV. You can go and check that out. Also, tomorrow we got the Lions Den associate. She's not Lions Den yet. Queen Napa. She'll be going into the Sarnetta interrogation room, and then once after the interrogation room, both Sister Carla and Napa will be calling out Dr. Ma'at and Sister Irene over there at the House of Conscience. Okay, and one more thing we got going over at the Lions Den. We got a show, two shows actually. We will be doing a show on LGBTQ. Is it an agenda or is it a lifestyle? We're gonna have a panel of people, a couple of guys who are against it, and then we're even gonna get a couple of people who are actually living that lifestyle. Now, just to point out, I didn't find the ones who live in that lifestyle. A couple of sisters did. I don't know no people like that. That's just what it is. Also, we're also going to be having any of the sisters that want to join this panel. This is an open invitation. We're going to be discussing polygamy. Sister Napa and Sister Yakalani, they are for polygamy. Sister Carla, she's against it, and Sister Asantawa will be on the panel. We're looking for about 4 more women, that's going to be discussing that. And then also, Daquan wants to make an announcement about his upcoming championship match. Go ahead, Daquan.
Hey, shalom, family. Unfortunately, through the circumstances, we had some technical difficulties some weeks back, which led to a different decision. But in 2 more weeks, I'm gonna be debating Urkel, aka Music Soul Child, for the Lions Den Debate Championship. So stay tuned for that, man. The brother looks like Urkel, so I'm about to whip that ass, man, and bring the bell home.
There you go. So
yeah, let me make an announcement real quick, man.
Yeah, go ahead, Art.
Yeah, so here at the Source, man, we're gonna be following up a part 2. We started a series last Wednesday, of the Spirit of Acceptance. We're gonna be doing a part 2. We're gonna be trying to get Black Jesus Minister to come on. Also, Judah 7000. He was supposed to be on the first one, but we're gonna try to get him in on the second one. And we're just gonna be dealing with the spirit of acceptance in regards to the things that are being presented to our community and to our children, man. We're gonna be getting on that this Wednesday. All right, so be on the lookout for that, man. All right, and also concerning Music Soul Child, understand this. Let me turn my screen on. All right, let me turn my screen on. Let me make this clear. All right, let me make this clear. When it comes to the ancient land of Israel, my brother, Daquan is about to wipe the floor with you. But understand this. This was supposed to be my debate. All right, I ain't ran from nothing. Understand this. All right, you're looking at the real champ. Understand this. I ain't lost no debate, and I didn't lose one tonight. All right, understand that. Right, so the champ still lives. All right, so for the record, I am the Lions Den Debate League champion. All right, and I want that title shot for anybody that's holding the belt. All right, I yield the floor. YirmeYah Judah, it's on you.
Hey man,
G-Con, I want G-Con, if you got some announcement, go ahead, and then General Yashar. Go ahead.
Yeah, YirmeYah is not undefeated, first of all. YirmeYah got taken out a couple of weeks by Chandelier. He's not undefeated. You know what I'm saying? This brother, something came down, hit him on his head, and took him out the game. So this brother ain't undefeated. You know what I'm saying? So, with that being said, Grace.
You kind of comedian, man. Yeah.
Grace and peace to you, brothers, man. I appreciate the debate. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, this was just my first debate with the brother in the Lions. I mean, in the Source. You know what I'm saying? I haven't been over in the Lions Den yet, but
this is a Lions Den Source G-Con TV collaboration.
Collaboration, and I didn't really have no, we both didn't have no notes prepared. We just did this earlier today. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, and I've been driving all day, so we did what we had to do. But
Right.
shout out to the brother for coming on out.
That big boy talk, man. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, he wouldn't give me the debate I wanted, which is my favorite, which is salvation. But it's all good though. I'm open for that debate. If anybody want to debate me concerning who is salvation for, I'm open for that debate. You know what I'm saying? But with that being said, man, grace and peace to the family out there. Most high bless.
All right. Hey, one more announcement I got. Sonetta promised me this. I will be having a debate with Brother Jabari, and I'm gonna mop the floor with him again for the second time. The topic is: did the ancient Kemetic worship Osiris as a god? Did they believe that he was really a god or just a principle? Because I got proof that they did. So look, hey, y'all stay tuned for that. Because they just like how we worship Yahuwah, Yahweh, or however you want to say it, they did the same thing with their deities. They just had a whole bunch of them. They had priesthoods that actually believed in these deities as being real. And Jabari is being disingenuous with this and saying that they're not. So that's my next debate on Son of the TV. Will be Jeremiah Judah 7000, the People's Champ, versus Jabari, the flying Kemetic priest. Look, so stay tuned for that. That being said, Lions Den Source, GCon TV collaborate. Oh, I forgot about General Yashar. Go ahead, family. You got any announcements?
No announcements. Just tune in. You know what I'm saying? Subscribe to each one of the brothers. You know what I'm saying? They all come in with good information. They might have a different understanding of the information, but check them all out. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, shalom to everybody, and I love everybody.
Shalom. Peace.
Family, we got any callers coming in?
Nah, man, nobody called in, man. They don't love us, man. Actually, man, we got a caller.
Oh, we got a caller? Oh, okay.
Let me see if I can get back on here.
I know somebody want to beat up GCon on them calls. Come on, let's go.
Yo, Ak, you on live, man. My bad. I had to get you back on, man. You on live, man. Talk to the family.
Oh, I just had a question for the guy, GCon.
Yeah.
Hey, so you were saying that in the Valley of Jehoshaphat that these are the Israelites, which I agree. But if you're trying to say that the people that went and migrated back into the land in 1948, if they the people, where is Christ and where is Keith at? If they are the people, if that was the time of the migration of the real Israelites, then where is Christ?
Right. So I brought out to Zechariah 14 for a reason, because if you look at it, Christ is, these people are being seen in the land before Christ come back. And how we know that is because when you look at Zechariah 14, you look at verse, let's look at verse, I want to say 4. If you look at verse 4, it says, verse 5. And ye shall flee to the valley of the mountains, for the valley of the mountains reaching to Azal. Ye shall flee like as you fled from before the earthquake. So first of all, you see that you're fleeing. If the Most High was there with you, you wouldn't be fleeing, but you're fleeing. But look what it says. It says, you should flee as you fled from before the earthquake in the days of Uzziah, the king of Judah. Now watch what it says. And the Lord my God shall come, all the saints with thee. Clearly, he's coming to save you. So he's coming to the city of Jerusalem to save Israel from the nations. So therefore, if you're fleeing, right, this couldn't be the other battle that you see, because they don't even make it to the city. They at the mount. When you look at the the Gog and Magog war, they at the mount. They can pass the city and they stop right there. Ain't no fleeing, because the Most High destroyed them right there. But this battle right here is before the Most High come back. Jude says the Lord God should come back with 10,000 of his saints to execute judgment on the ungodly. So if they're fleeing, then this is before they came back. So 1948 will have to place them back, some of them back in the land until he bring the rest back into the land. And that's when you start dealing with Isaiah chapter 60 and stuff like that. The rest is gonna come back into the land. That's when y'all start coming back over. But for the most part, read Zechariah 12 and 13, and you're gonna see it's the same thing, but you're gonna see there's gonna be governors in the land. And if there's governors in the land, clearly, then when Christ come back, we see that it's going to be set up a portion of Israel in that land, and then to the rest come back.
All right, Carla, did you understand what he said?
I couldn't hear nothing you were saying because I was on a truck. And I got a bad connection, but I want to ask these questions if you hear me. And then I'm going to get off because I might be causing a lot of noise myself.
Well, I tell you what, brother. Look. I tell you what. Listen, I drive trucks too, so you know you can whatever you can reach me on Facebook. Just type in LaRon Campbell, inbox me, and we can have a discussion, or we add him to the back chat that we be having. You know, because we have back chats. The Lions Den back chat. On.
I add him on. I add you on, bro.
All right, cool. That'll be cool. And we can have, but you can ask your question though. But yeah, I do the same thing, so I know about the bad reception. I just got through driving 11 hours.
Okay, my question is, okay, can you explain Daniel chapter 2, and I think it's around the 43rd verse where it says that this stone that cut out without hands, when it destroys the foot of the idol, and it says that the kingdom of heaven shall be set up from that point on, and it shall not be left to any other nation.
Right. So when you look at it says in those days, I think you was quoting 44, and let me see. Here it is, right here, verse 45. Nah, that's not okay. So for as much as thou sawest the stone which was cut out of the mountain without hands, and they did break in pieces the iron, the brass, right? So that's the one you quoting, but I think it's a little bit farther up. You said 43. Let's see. I think it's 43, or it might be
around 40 something when it explains that this the new kingdom that comes will not be left to any other nation.
Yeah, it's basically gonna be left to the saints, though.
So what I'm saying when I bring that up, I'm talking about 2 Ezra chapter 14 and 1 on down, and I'm talking about Revelation 14 and 1. When Christ comes back, he gathering his people together with him. So how is it that you're gonna be the fake Jews? Where the fake Jews gonna be? How they gonna be there?
Okay, here it is right here. This is 44. I get you. Here is this verse you're talking about. And the days of these kings shall the king, God of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms and shall stand forever. So basically, we see that the kingdom that we're going to see that God is going to set up, it's not going to be left to these kingdoms that you see. These other people that you see with these kingdoms that we see of the beast system. That type of kingdom is not, God's going to establish his kingdom. And his kingdom that he's going to establish is where we see that Israel, the theocracy is on their shoulders, with Christ heading them, and Christ establishing the whole earth, and not just the earth, but also the heavens too, because it says he's going to gather together all things which are in heaven and earth. So that kingdom is an everlasting kingdom. That's a kingdom that we're going to see. There's a kingdom that he will establish, and in that kingdom, he will not leave it to what we see of these kingdoms that we see today. He will not leave it to the people we see of these kingdoms.
What time we see in the back chat bullshit?
Okay.
I was just telling her before. I said that. Earlier, I was telling her this is about 11:30.
Yeah, just go back and watch the video, man. You'll hear it, man. I get out with you.
Chopping them down.
Okay.
Somebody got a whole conversation going in the background. All right, grace and peace, brother. Somebody got a whole conversation going on the air.
What you talking about?
Yo, man, we out of here, man.
All right, peace, brother. Peace, y'all.
Undisputed. Niggas roll up in the heat of the block. Get out the whip and face in a knot. Yes, I know it's your hood, but we taking the spot. We the Hebrews and we got it on undisputed. Niggas roll up in the heat of the block. Get out the whip with his face in a knot. Yes, I know it's your hood, but we taking the spot. We the Hebrews and we got it on undisputed. On the front line and it's game time. The one who understands has a strong mind. And I don't mind embarrassing you online. Better call Jesus. In fact, he's on the main line. Hebrews in the streets and they making noise. No, we standing strong like a convoy, flexing our spiritual muscle that's on steroids. Why these other groups afraid of work like they unemployed? Here to put flesh on your damn bones. Hit in every corner, take your whole zone. No more selling drugs, no more prostitution. We take the money back, call it restitution. We gonna use the Torah as our constitution. Use a Mashiach as a resolution. What you think we soft? We ain't no lightweight. Take the air out of your ball, call it deflate gate. So either join the movement or just vacate. Never gonna compromise on things we don't tolerate. Find out if the Hebrews really real, so investigate. Really got a love for our people. Let me demonstrate. Undisputed. Niggas roll up in the heat of the block. Get out the whip with his face in a knot. Yes, I know it's your hood, but we taking the spot. We the Hebrews and we got it on undisputed. Niggas roll up in the heat of the block. Get out the whip with his face in a knot. Yes, I know it's your hood, but we taking the spot.